Next up, we have Graydon, KC6 SLE. I think he's got a little bit to say.
Thank you, Aaron. So, come on up. So, Smitty is, he's my co-chair. How many people have heard about Hot RF Nights?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, let the record show every hand went up.
Okay, well, when we talk more about it later, you can all have that same enthusiasm, okay?
Exactly. How many people have been to Hot RF Nights? Yeah.
Gotta pump those numbers up.
Almost every hand in the room. So it's going to be on Saturday, May 17th, if you haven't already heard. It's going to be at William Jessup University, a new site, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. If you don't know the address for William Jessup University, it's 2121 University Avenue in Rocklin, so it's pretty easy.
Does anybody, by show of hands, not know where William Jessup University is? Yeah, okay, good. That's what, 65, if you get off at 65 in Sunset, you can see it.
Okay. And it's going to be from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., and we'll talk about the hours in a minute here. Co-chair? Other co-chair.
By the way, it's not chair and assistant chair. It's co-chair and co-chair, like 50-50.
So let's talk about objectives. The main objective of this event is to give all the participants, and we hope everybody is a participant, an opportunity to share with other hams how they've done things. And when I say have done things, we're talking about mobile or field applications of radio. So if you're into SOTA, you're into POTA, you're into Aries, or you're into Jeeping and you want to have it in your Jeep like Don does, you know, how does Don put a radio into his rig? How did I put a radio into my rig? It's a great way for us to share information with each other. So that's the number one objective, is to provide a venue, a fun venue for people to participate. Now, you can attend as well if you don't want to participate, and that's fine. But I would strongly encourage people to participate if at all possible, because that's what makes it a success. That's what makes it a learning experience for all of us.
If you don't mind, you know, one thing that I heard somebody say at last year's event, and I want to repeat exactly what I heard, because when I heard them say this, I thought, you missed it. Last year I heard, well, the previous few years of Hot RF Nights, I brought my vehicle out. Everyone has seen my radio install, and who the hell wants to see my radio in my Tundra anymore, right? Seen it. I've had it on display 3 or 4 times now. You've all seen it, right? My little solar setup. However, keep in mind that there are I can see at least 2 or 3 people in this room that have never been to Hot RF Nights and are new hams. So we've got those folks which need inspiration. Remember when you were brand new as a tech and you had no idea how to mount your radio? Great idea. Last year, to be perfectly honest, we had very, very, very light club attendance. And when I say club attendance, I don't mean people attending the event, but people showing off your stuff. So this year, I really hope and pray that we can kind of bond together as a team. Bring your vehicle out, open the doors. You don't have to sit there and stand there and shake hands. I didn't do that. I just opened the doors and I put a little note there on the chair saying what I got installed and all that. But don't forget, too, that while we have talked about showing off your mobile installs, while we have talked about emergency services, Go kits, POTA setups, maybe you've got a cool antenna design or a cool way of installing or rather of maybe you got a cool cannon and you shoot an antenna into the tree there, for example. Like, bring that stuff. Anything that makes you passionate about the hobby. This is the venue to do that at.
Perfect. Thank you, Smitty. So I'm going to let Smitty talk about the second objective, and that is to encourage participation, encourage attendance through the marketing of Hot RF Nights.
Yeah, we've done a big push in marketing this year. Surprise, surprise, if you haven't seen it yet. I don't know, maybe you live in a cave, I don't know. But everything from thank you to the support of HRO for allowing us to advertise in the back of the receipts. That's always very effective. We've done a lot more outreach this year. We did a lot of outreach last year. We're doing easily 2x the outreach. Everything from stuff with the Auburn Journal. They were awesome to us during Hamfest. They gave us a great write-up both prior to the event and after the event, so we've been in touch with them. The ARRL is getting involved. Carol, all the group that you know and everything like that, as well as we have confirmations from North Hills will be there, El Dorado areas will be there, Placer areas will be there, maybe FirstNet, perhaps. We're working on that. Yuba Sutter will be there. Yuba Sutter Club will be there. We already have all these folks that are planning on coming, so I really think it's going to be a good event this year. And with, let me make sure I'm not leaving anything out here. And again, one other thing I do want to bring up, and we're going to hit in a little bit why this is important, is others that maybe aren't hams, but maybe they're interested in emergency services, or maybe they're interested in emergency communications or preparedness, for
Fox
example.
hunts?
Fox hunts, exactly.
And Fox Hunt's a perfect example of equipment to bring out there and show off as well. So please participate if you can in this event. Definitely attend it. It's a fun event. So the last objective that we had, the team that's putting this together, is it's not a moneymaker. We don't do this to make money for the club, but we do try to design it so that it's revenue neutral for the club to the greatest extent we can. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's an important objective as well.
Next slide.
Now, does anybody know how many years we've been doing Hot RF Nights, counting this year?
Was there a guess for 3? Wait, what was that?
The right hand up.
He's got it.
He's
5.
got it. 5. Thanks, Don. So this will be our 5th year. Every year we ask you, how can we make this better? And we listen to your feedback. So last year we heard we know people attended it last year. What was the number one thing about last year? It was too darn hot. So we picked a cooler time for this year, Saturday, May 17th. We had many comments that it ran too late, so we've shortened up the hours. We're going to cut it off at 8 o'clock, but we're going to do 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, another comment was it was too long. By shortening up the hours a little bit, we're taking care of that. Plus, being cooler, I think people will be more tolerant of being there for 5 hours. And pick a central location, and that's done as well. So the new location at William Jessup, when you think about it, it brings together all the major traffic hubs in our area into that location. So it'll be much more convenient for other clubs to attend, for attendees that might want to come there, for first responders that we get. So,
and when you think about it, for example, and I'm just going to pick a couple different clubs. You got Yuba Sutter, you got North Hills, and River City. It's kind of the 3 big ones in this region. That's only 20 minutes from all those locations. Even Yuba Sutter, I mean, maybe 25 or 30, depending on where you live. But overall, that was the goal, is half an hour or less from those major clubs that we're servicing, all those folks. And we think we've pretty much accomplished that with the Rocklin venue.
So we're going to pause at this point. We're going to come back to this in a few minutes. We're going to pause at this point and turn it back to Aaron.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to have Smitty come up and talk about the advantages of the new site.
All right. Yes, the advantages. Well,
let me give you the prompt here so you don't get lost.
I don't need it. I know it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, Smitty is the person that negotiated with the university and he got the site. So great job.
Yeah, and so, the one thing that I know will come up, and I'm going to bring it up, is that the site isn't free. So I know in the past we talk about this event being a low-cost event. It's more about nurturing, bringing people to the hobby, enthusiasts, the whole works. This year, the venue isn't free, but we did get a considerable discount. But what are those advantages of that venue? Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of space. There's, of course, a lot of space here, but there's a lot of space there. There's also a lot of shade. It's also an extremely good location with great optics. And let's talk about optics in our goal and our mission and vision of this event, right? Optics being that it'll be very visible that we're doing things. That's why I'm very interested in getting fire trucks there and FirstNet and antennas or satellites, whatever we can do to visually bring those optics, like what's going on over there at William Jessup. From an optics standpoint, you can see it very easily. It's very easy to get to, of course, being right there at 65 and Sunset. We felt that was important. And in addition to that, there are other events going on at the university that day. In fact, there is an elementary school age dance competition happening on the campus, a different section of the campus, but guess what? They're going to have to drive by our table. They're going to have to drive by all of Hot RF Nights. So there'll be parents, there'll be kids, a whole assortment of different folks. So we think that we may even make up a little bit on the float sales and everything like that because, with little kids, they're going to want those root beer floats maybe. But again, optics, location, and the ability to get there. So those are kind of our big advantages. And a lot of shade. And it happens to be an area that also is very common with a breeze. All things that'll look really nice, right?
Well, plus the fact that we can grow into this. I mean, it is a large campus. It has large facilities, parking facilities. So in the future, as the event expands and grows inside, we can grow into this facility.
Absolutely.
Yep. So along with advantages, there's always pluses and minuses. Question, go ahead.
Is parking free is the question. Parking is 100% free. Participants, if you're going to show something off, or if you're just going to come and get a float. The float's not free, but if you're nice, I'll buy you one. I could mix it.
We could.
I know people.
Yeah, all things are possible. Yeah. So let me go through the disadvantages. Disadvantage is we have to pay for this site. When you think about the greater scheme of it, it's not a huge amount of money. It's actually a pretty reasonable price. And again, kudos to Smitty for negotiating that price down to rock bottom. There's no access to the restrooms at this site. So that means we're going to have to rent a couple porta potties and a wash station. I've been out talking to different vendors on that, and I actually am ready to sign a contract for that. That includes delivery, that includes pickup, it includes toilet paper, soap, hand towels. It's a complete package. And because we're a 501c, they scrubbed all of the other fees off of there, like taxes. So we're getting it at a decent price. Now, Smitty and I, next slide, please. We're committed to making that up. We don't know if we can make the whole thing up, but we're committed to making up at least half of it.
At least half of it.
Yep. And we'll do that by increasing our attendance. You want to go through some of the other items?
Sure. We really have worked very hard on, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, participation and attendance. That's going to equal potentially more float sales, which will be an inbound cost, or rather an inbound income, source of income. Struggling there, finally got the words out there. Additionally, the optics and just the activity at the venue. One thing about this venue is it's tucked way back here, so there's no walk-up, drive-up traffic. You have to know the venues that we're doing something, and you actually have to get into the parking lot to even see what we're doing. That's not the case here, and there will be a lot of visitors on campus. We're talking like thousands. So that's good for us from a foot traffic, from a drive-by traffic perspective. So we are planning on having more product available to accommodate extra float sales and stuff. And
I actually, not to interrupt you, but I actually gave Jerry a goal. I told him he has to sell at least 120 floats. I'm hoping he'll come back to me and say he can sell 150. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely right. And so we really think we can get there really close. I think it's as far as the expenditure goes, we kind of brought this to the board, and we felt it was pretty prudent to be transparent about, hey, you know what, when we ended the 2024 event, there was even a question of whether or not the event was going to remain the responsibility of SFARC. To be honest, you mind me mentioning this? We kind of shopped it around to see if other clubs wanted to help us. And we weren't quite there. We were worried about the event dying on the vine. So Greg and I wanted to make sure that we brought it and kept it going for the 5th year. Again, last year I think was really a circumstance of temperature and maybe a little bit of distance as well, given that, just overall in time and such. So what we're really kind of asking for tonight, first of all, I want to be very transparent about the associated costs. They're not budgeted. And what we're asking for from the general population of the general population, general fund, thank you. See, I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. Maybe General fund, we're asking for $500 from the club tonight. So we wanted to surface that. Again, in the spirit of transparency, we think it's a pretty prudent investment. Can we make up 100%? Maybe. But worst case scenario, we might be out $400 or $500 as a club. And we have to ask ourselves if the mission and vision of this event and what it stands for is worth taking a little bit of loss this year for something that isn't budgeted. So.
Perfect. Thank you. So, questions?
Questions. Here, I'm going to come out with the microphone for the questions, just because I want folks on Zoom to be able to ask questions and hear the questions as well.
Smitty, you said there's going to be a lot of folks, the dance club and the like. Is there going to be a sign or signage of open to public?
That is a great suggestion, and I love it. We're going to work on a lot of signage. It'll be very clear what we're doing overall, so that's a great question. The good news is everybody has to drive by our central tent, so if we put some signs up, they'll be able to read what it is. But that's a great suggestion. I love it.
Any other questions? In the back? George.
What if some of us wanted to help make up that shortfall by some extra donations? How would we do that?
You can hand the money to me.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of hands make light work, right? So I can put a link up on the Hot RF Nights for a donate link if anyone's interested in helping. Of course, that's always appreciated. But yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate that.
No, donations would be greatly appreciated. Another area where donations would be appreciated is in the drawing prizes. Because the more attractive we make the drawing, the more tickets we sell, the more money we make. So if you have an item that you've won recently or you bought and you're not using and still new, we could take that, use it as a prize. Other questions?
Orion, any questions online? I see Ray. I'll come to you, Ray. I can't hear you, Ray. I love you, Ray, but I can't hear you. All right, here you go.
How much are the tickets going to be sold for?
No, we've had that discussion. It's not cast in concrete yet, but we're thinking about $2 a ticket and then a volume ticket incentive.
Okay, last year, nobody brought me change. Didn't tell me what was going on. I was alone. This isn't going to work again. So if anybody wants to help with ticket sales, we want to hear from it.
Well, we already have a ticket sale leader, and that is Jeff, sitting right there. So
It will not fall on you, Ray.
But Jeff is looking for volunteers, and as long as I have the mic for the time being, sorry we're taking up a little bit of time on this tonight. We need more people to help us put this event on. So you're going to probably get tapped on the shoulder by some of the leads that are here in the room tonight. You might get a phone call from them. We do need help. And George, to your point about donations, donation of time is perfect too. So with that, I better get back on schedule. So thanks everybody, and we look forward to seeing you at Hot RF Nights.